Good morning, students. Welcome back to yet another video of History, Chapter 2, Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution, Part 2. In the previous class, we learned about liberals, radicals, and conservatives. Today, we will discuss about the coming of socialism to Europe and support for socialism. With no further ado, let's start. The first subtopic is explaining about socialism in Europe. Before we go into the details of socialism in Europe, first let's analyze the meaning of the term socialism. Socialism is a far-reaching vision of how a society should be. Vision means it is something when we dream of after 5 or 10 years what you want to be. This is called vision. So socialism means it is the vision of how a society should be after few years. Socialism is a body or group of ideas that attracted widespread attention. The socialists were against private property and saw it as the root cause of all social evils at that time. The main base for socialism is that the social inequalities and all the other problems in the society at that time, that is just because of the concept of private property. Private property is the main reason for all the social ills. According to the socialist, the main evil in the society is the private property. The private property is the root cause of all social evils. Every individual earning and huge properties is the basic problem of inequality in the society. They also expressed their doubt when the factory is run, when people are employed in this, why only the properties are owned by an individual who owns the factory? Why not the properties are shared equally to the people who really increase the productivity and make that factory to become rich? Why they are not sharing the profits of the factory with its employees? So this is the underlying idea of society. So the underlying idea of the society is, of the socialist is, why the profit is accumulated only in the factory owners or else only in the hands of the few. Why not it is not shared equally to the employees who worked hard to gain good productivity and to make the factory to become rich and to run in a proper way? Why not the profit is not shared to the employees? So socialists, they need a change in the society. They were totally against the concept of the accumulation of wealth in few hands, or else they were against the concept of private property. According to socialists, more attention should be paid to collective social interest. So let us understand the views of the socialist. So different socialists have different ideology about socialism. So one such ideology was cooperatives. So let us understand the views of the prominent socialist Robert Owen, an English manufacturer, brought the idea of cooperativism. So cooperativism or cooperatives, it means cooperate together, build together, and grow together. He started a cooperative community known as New Harmony in Indiana in USA. But the other socialists felt that cooperatives could not be built on a wide scale. So it should be encouraged only on individual basis, and the government should take the initiative to encourage the cooperative communities culture in the nation. This is the one view of socialism. Cooperativism, or else cooperatives. This was the ideology of socialism, which was brought by Robert Owen. Now let us find out what is the view of Louis Blanc in France. Louis Blanc also expressed a similar view as that of Robert Owen. He expressed that the government has to replace the existing capitalist because the capitalist own many of the factories which are individual based. He want to have cooperatives, and these cooperatives later share the profits. After acquiring the profits, they would share the partnership of profits before between the owners and the workers. So now let's analyze what is the view of Karl Marx about socialism. So Karl Marx is the father of Marxism in Russia. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were the two main philosophers who propagated socialism. They added new set of ideas to the existing socialism concept. What are they? What made them to think on those lines? Karl Marx understand the society in a different manner. He understood that the capital investment is done by the owners. He agreed for that the property, the machinery, the land, the building, the infrastructure, everything is the property of the owner. But the profit which is acquiring in the industries was the result of the hard work which was done by the workers. So he told that the workers are the main reason for the owner to achieve profit. So he want the workers has to be free themselves from the capitalist exploitation. He want a solution for the work exploitation. Then only the workers' life will improve. According to Karl Marx, workers had to overthrow capitalism and the rule of private property. He also mentioned that the profit which the owner is acquiring in the name of the factory is the hard work, the blood and the sweat of the people, those who are working in the factories. So they naturally deserves the rights of shares in the property. The rich people is becoming multimillionaire and the poor people's life becoming worst. He insisted the workers that had to construct a radically socialist society where all property was socially controlled. The new view, what he wants is a society which runs all the factories. He wants the communities to run all the factories. That is why it is named later as communism. From socialism, we moved to communism. It means the factories should be run by the communities. That is why he changed the name from socialism to communism. He also mentioned that communism is nothing but the workers' triumph over the capitalist. So Karl Marx clearly explained that there should not be any owners. People should be owners and everyone should get the profit and all will grow together and the entire nation will develop. That's about the ideology of Karl Marx. Now let's see the image of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. This is Karl Marx and this is Friedrich Engels. Now let's move on to the next subtopic, explaining about the development took place in Europe in support of socialism. By the 1870s, socialist ideas spread throughout Europe. An international body called the Second International was formed by the socialists to coordinate the efforts of the workers. Workers' associations were formed to fight for better living and working conditions. There were funds were set up to help the members in times of distress. And the workers demanded a revolution in working hours, and a revolution in the working hours means they demanded for a reduction in working hours. They demanded for low working hours, and they demanded for the right to vote. In many places in Europe, these associations worked closely with the Social Democratic Party and helped to win parliamentary seats. In 1905, socialist and trade unionists formed Labour Party in Britain and a Socialist Party in France. However, till 1914, socialists never succeeded in forming a government in Europe, and the governments continued to be run by conservatives, liberals, and radicals. By this, we concluded the second part of History, Chapter 2, the nationalism, socialism in Europe, and the Russian Revolution. Now let's have a quick recap of today's class. Today we learned two headings, that is explaining about the coming of socialism in Europe and the support for socialism. Under the heading the coming of socialism in Europe, we discussed the meaning of socialism. Socialism was a well-known body of ideas by the mid-19th century in Europe. Socialists were against private property and saw it as the root of all social ills at that time. They wanted to change it and campaigned for it. Robert Owen sought to build a cooperative community called New Harmony in Indiana in USA. Louis Blanc wanted the government to encourage cooperatives and replace capitalist enterprises. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels added other ideas to this body of arguments. According to Marx, industrial society was capitalist who earned the capital invested in factories, and the profit of capitalist was produced by workers. Capitalism and the rule of private property were overthrown. Karl Marx believed that a communist society was the natural society of the future. Next, we discussed about the support for socialism. By the 1870s, socialist ideas spread through Europe and they formed an international body, namely the Second International. Associations were formed by workers in Germany and England to fight for better living and working conditions. The Labour Party and Socialist Party were formed by socialists and trade unionists by 1905. By this, we concluded today's class and the second part of History Chapter 2, Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Thank you, students. Have a good day ahead.